Hi, I'm Jill Wolcott of Jill Wolcott Knits. Welcome to Taming Techniques. These are short videos I do to show you how I do techniques that I use in my patterns. So watch, practice, and then do it yourself. Hi, the technique we're going to tame today is picking up stitches. What you're looking at here is a beautiful double-sided band, which looks perfect nearly from both sides, and the salvage edge is encased between the two rows of knitting. So I will tackle that particular technique in another video. Today we are just going to talk about how do you pick up stitches. So one of the questions often asked is, do I pick up and knit? And I believe that what people often mean by this is, are you picking up new yarn or creating new stitches? So the answer to that is yes, you are picking up new yarn. But the other possible reading of that is picking up stitches like this, where you're just picking up a piece of a stitch that's already been formed. So that is not ever what I'm talking about when I tell you to pick up stitches. And I use many different techniques. But I'm always picking up stitches with new yarn. So I'm a continental knitter. You'll notice that I have the yarn over my finger, and I'm going to show you how to do it just like that. I will also show you how to do it if you're a thrower. So that first stitch, I just picked up a new stitch with the yarn. You'll notice I dropped the yarn because it's a little hard to do it on the very first one. And then I just go through, and I would have figured out how often I need to pick up stitches. And so you end up with new loops. On the back side, you just have little bars of stitching. So if I were a thrower, I would do the same thing. So I would go down in, but I would bring the yarn around and wrap. So typically when you're picking up stitches into rows, you do like 3 stitches and then skip one because of the ratio. So right here, I'm skipping that stitch and I'm going into the next one. So when you look at this, you see this big gap, but in fact that's how I picked up this, and you can't see where I skipped stitches. So well picked up stitches will not show any of the little adjustments you had to make. So the other thing I want to talk about is, where do you pick up the stitches? So you can see that I have a full stitch here. So I'm picking up between the edge stitch and the next stitch. So if you're just looking at the knitting, here is the edge stitch, and then here's the next stitch, and you can see that I'm picking up between those, which creates the beautiful line going up your front. And if you're just consistent with that, you will have a good looking band. So I've picked up my stitches and I'm turning around to work the first row. So if I were doing a stockinette band, I would purl, because that's my wrong side to get stockinette. I'm going to do a few stitches just knitting, and so we can see what that looks like. And then I'm going to do a few stitches of knit one, purl one ribbing. So I'm knitting one stitch, then I'm purling a stitch and knitting a stitch. So when I turn that over you can see you get slightly different effect. Here at the beginning, we go immediately into stockinette. Here in the center, you get a purl ridge. And here it's a little hard to see, but you can start to see the ribbing. You can see if you look at the back that I've got a nice line of stitches. And typically that's acceptable to us to be able to see that on the inside of our sweaters. And I might have picked up the stitches differently on rib because they tend to, that sort of band tends to pull in. So nothing more boring than watching somebody knit. And here, if I were going on in garter, I would knit on the wrong side as well. And here it is in stockinette. But it gives you a fairly good idea of how nicely those stitches lay.